Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime. Good evening, everybody. This is the one, the only Reckless Speculation Podcast, NFL Kickoff Edition. I am your host, Tom Sloan. I want to thank everybody who's tuning in this evening or morning or whenever you're tuning in, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or checking in on one of the podcast platforms, Apple or Spotify or wherever you find your podcast. We thank you for checking in. As always, we want to encourage everyone to go ahead and like, follow, and subscribe on all of our social media platforms. It really helps us out. It gets the message out. Plus, you can go back and see previous episodes and see how good or lately how bad we have been at our picks, and we could only improve from there. So once again, go ahead, like, follow, and subscribe to our social medias. And again, we would encourage you to go check out the college football show we did. We previewed this week's upcoming action, unbelievable slate of games, and we talked about last week. So go ahead and check that out. That's available right now. And another little tidbit that I'll say, 33 years ago today, the day we're filming, September 19th, 1990, there was a hell of a movie that came out. A good gangster flick, I think we can all agree, is probably on our top 5 or top 10 list. Goodfellas, ladies and gentlemen, came out. If you checked our college football show out, I started that show yesterday with a little bit of a change of pace. Going to continue that into this one and moving forward. But $6.3 million it grossed in its first weekend. And compare that to movies these days where they gross 300 to 500 million. So the times have definitely changed in the world of movies. But again, 33 years ago today, September 19th, Goodfellas was released in theaters. Here's a guy that I'm willing to bet is a fan of that movie. Just a hunch. Raj Mehta.
I am a fan of that movie. I was thinking, what was his first name? Like Johnny Two Times. And I was going to say, I'm a fan of the movie. Because everybody knows the most blatant quotes. But yeah, it's rest in peace, Ray Liotta. Just an American treasure. Mob movies or not. Copland, a pseudo mob, among others. A lot of kids today only know that movie from GIFs. And fuck you if that's the case. It's just an exceptional movie, and they know Robert De Niro as a guy that acts as a grandpa in comedies and every other movie. But literally, I'm gonna go get the papers. Get the papers. Is what you
go get the papers. Get your shine box. Get your shine box. Brandon Chain, what's going on, Brandon?
What's going on, boys? Also a fan of that movie. It's been a while since I've seen it, so it's one of those that you have to go back and rewatch just to refresh the memory because it's that damn good. But
you need a lot of time as well.
Yeah, you need a lot of time.
Robbie Davis, welcome to the show, buddy. What's up?
Hey, good to be here. Yeah, so as a person who, anytime someone asks me, do you want to go do something or watch something, my first question is, how long is it? And if it's over 2 hours, I usually say no. But some of those movies, they are the exceptions of yes. And and speaking of box office, I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you did, Taylor Swift's already pre-sold $100 million for her concert movie, which and I don't know if you guys have read this, the Forbes article that movie industry scattering around. They're
I'm
moving.
Mel Tuckering you right
release
now. If you
dates.
ain't Mel Tucker, you don't even
They're
know it.
moving release dates to combat Taylor
Think about
coming
something
out.
else.
Just another industry that the powerhouse is going to take over.
Yep, for sure. Well, after that little tidbit of information,
Wait, is
I
this
need a
not a
shot
Taylor
of
Swift
Jack.
show? What are we talking about today?
I need a shot of Jack. Oh, that's right, boys. I know what you got in your cups. I know Brandon's got that in his for sure. Reckless Speculation, as always, powered by Jack Single Barrel. Go get yourself some. Lynchburg, Tennessee's own. And yes, as Brandon said, we are going to talk NFL tonight. We're going to break down some of the action from last week, some injuries, some officiating, some disappointments, and then we're going to preview the upcoming week 3 action and give you guys our picks. And as I mentioned, the disappointment, I'll start right here. Ford Field last Sunday was about as ruckus as I've ever experienced it. Jared Goff came out today and said that was the most intense atmosphere he's ever played and ever been a part of. It was very loud there. At times, my ears were just ringing, and it was such a cool environment. I guess the speculation really began. I got downtown about 8:30 in the morning, and it was already buzzing. So everybody was down there excited. The hype train is real, especially coming off a big win at Kansas City. So going into that game, I think everybody thought Detroit was going to kind of come in and kind of carry everything. And kudos to Seattle. They went in there and they withstood the fans, the energy that Ford Field had, and they came out on top. I mean, it was deflating. You could hear a pin drop after that game was over, leaving the stadium, and there was a Seahawk fan next to me, and he goes, "That got pretty loud in here." And coming from a fan who is familiar with crowd noise, the old number 12s in Seattle, that I took that as a compliment. But very cordial fans. There was a lot of Seahawk fans there, as there were last year, and this is a team that seems to have the Lions' number. So very disappointing, albeit it was week 2. It's early in the season.
Well, Tom. So the four of us. You know, you're a Michigan fan. I'm a Tennessee fan. Brand's Ohio State. Rogers USC. Those are 4 iconic stadiums. They are 4 iconic venues.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been to at least some that are comparable. How would you compare this pro atmosphere to the college atmospheres that you've seen?
This is probably top for me.
Really? Yeah.
I've been at the Big House. The Big House, it doesn't get loud at a lot. It has in the past couple of years, but I don't really look at Michigan Stadium as a place where the noise are going to get to you.
But just the atmosphere altogether, as far as
the atmosphere was. I mean, you had former Detroit residents that were flying in just for this game, and obviously it was the Fox, the big crew was there. Aaron Andrews was on the sideline wearing some sort of pantsuit. I have no idea what it was, but nonetheless, all eyes were on Detroit. And
we don't have that image. We don't have her. We don't have what's going on here.
No, she looked like she was a Jedi or something on the sidelines. It was terrible. But atmosphere was. I mean, I've gone to a lot of games. Silverdome was loud, 81,000. I would compare Sunday to what it felt like being in the Silverdome. It was just the noise and the fans going crazy. And I mean, I'm up in the 300s, and every big play, everyone was on their feet. I mean, it was third down, everybody was on their feet, and it was a lot of fun. And unfortunately, they didn't come out on top, but again, it's earlier in the season, and so I look for them to rebound. Although they got some bad news as far as injuries go. C.J. Gardner-Johnson done for the year. James Houston done for 8 weeks. They've got some injury bugs that they're going to have to figure out. But I believe in this team. I think the culture has changed, and they'll get it right. So we're going to kick this thing off with our top 5. And the thought process going into this was there's a whole lot of teams that are 2-0. Whether they deserve it or not remains to be seen. But maybe that doesn't justify them being in the top 5. So we're going to go around the table and we're going to pick our reckless speculation NFL top 5. Raj, you're right next to me. We're going to start with you. What's your top 5 this week going into week 3 in the NFL?
As of this week, and we don't want to talk about people that got all sore about this, but I went with just 2-0 teams because right now that's how I see things. And if you're 2-0, you deserve to be ranked. And if you lose at home to Detroit on a Thursday, then you're not going to be in my top 5, even though we know you're pretty good. I'm starting with the Dallas Cowboys, who by far have, I think, the best balance in the league, offense and defense. The defense has been sensational, by far number 1, leads in most categories, most sacks. They played the Giants, but I mean, the Giants at home opening night, you did not expect a 40 burger on. I'm just a destruction of them, just eliminating the hopes of the franchise. It's hard to come back from that. Then beating a Jets team, they just looked dominant, and I don't care who they played. After that, I go with Miami, the number 1 offense in the NFL for now, until hopefully Tua stays healthy. But 2 road wins in 2 tough environments, and at the Chargers and at New England. Number 3, I go with the Niners, and defense, running game, probably be higher if not for, Brock Purdy versus the other 2 kind of more experienced guys. But for now, I have them there. 4, I just went with Baltimore, and, they're just kind of winning. They just went into Cincinnati and won, and they look balanced again on both sides, and they're making plays on offense with guys like Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham losing Dobbins hurt, but they seem to plug and play. And then on defense, the defense is making plays again. They're, Queen and others are flying around. They kind of look reminiscent of that team of old. And number 5 at 2-0 is Philly. The only reason I don't have them higher is they just kind of sleptwalked after starting to smoke Minnesota. And, they did get DeAndre Swift back. So going forward, I expect them to move up because Swift had 175 yards or whatnot in that game.
He'll get hurt again.
My top 5.
Brandon Chain, what do you got going into week 3 for your top 5 in the NFL?
Exactly what he just said. It's like 100% that way.
Do it to you.
I went through just 2-0 teams as well. And like I said before, we were talking about this before we got, I was like, I don't even know if I'd change it if I could expand outside of 2-0 teams. I would come in and probably throw in the top 7. I would put KC, maybe 6, and then maybe the Bengals coming in at 7, just from previous
Bengals.
Yeah, I like the Bengals. I know they're off to a slow start. He's good.
Did he hook up with your sister or something? Why do you hate Joey Burrow so much, dude?
No, because he screwed him so many times in fantasy.
Yeah. That's the answer to all your questions, Raj. Is there's not a person on this planet that I despise more than Andy Dalton. And this is going. But that's probably 10 years ago. I still hate him from that. So
you never had him on your fantasy team.
Yeah. So at one point, probably a year from now, maybe 6 months, we'll start releasing our pre-show shows for y'all to get a little behind the curtains, because we argued about this for about an hour, and my picks are Miami, Dallas, San Francisco, KC, and Philly. So one pick between the difference of all of ours. Yeah, and so that's just a little bit of a
You
high.
just wanted to throw KC in the top 5. That's the only reason you argued.
Yeah. So that's but just to brief you, Miami's got the best offense that in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Man, but I've texted y'all privately. I've never been a father or a stepfather. I have a puppy. But man, every time I watch Tua, I get so nervous with him. I'm just like, don't hit him, don't hit him, don't hit him. Because he throws such a great ball. And like I want him to stay healthy. Dallas, man, a monster. San Francisco, a monster. KC, week 1 lost Detroit, but didn't have their 2 best offensive, defensive, maybe not 2 best, but top 5 players on each side of the ball. So I'll still sling them in. Then in Philly, it's going to be a slow start. Players need to play in the preseason. This NFL has gotten off to a slow start. There's a lot of injuries. Yes, they can have them in the preseason, but man, it helps to get hit. And with the new rules in practice, these players just aren't getting hit enough. And man, these careers are injuring.
We will get into that. We will get into that shortly.
Yeah. Sorry.
So did you finish your top 5?
Yeah. So Miami, Dallas, San Fran, KC, and Philly.
Perfect. So you're the first and only to go with a non-2-0 team. My number 1 is, and it pains me to say this, but the Cowboys. You have the best football player on the planet, Micah Parsons. He is the end-all, be-all, and he's unstoppable. And he puts the offense in positions to be able to do what they have to do. And Dak statistically does really well earlier in the season. As it's when the season progresses, he starts making mistakes. We'll see how that goes. They've got a new offensive coordinator. But as long as Micah Parsons healthy, they're the team to beat, in my opinion, as hard as that is for me to admit. But right now, that's the case. Number 2, San Francisco. This team is, we talked last week, Brock Purdy, Tom Brady 2.0, 7th round pick. He's better this year than he was last year. I think that was the big question mark coming in. He's proven himself. They went to Pittsburgh and just absolutely dominated Pittsburgh. And we saw last night Pittsburgh's defense pretty good. San Francisco had no problem with them. Number 3, Miami. Tua when healthy. We all talked about it before. He throws a beautiful ball. And I think mentally he's done some things to kind of avoid putting himself in situations to possible concussions. And as long as he's on the field, you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You're hard pressed to find a better wide receiver tandem in the NFL right now. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts, I don't think he's really opened it up a whole lot. And I guess when your running back goes for 178, he showed flashes of that here in Detroit, but he also got hurt a lot. So we'll see if he can be a little bit more consistent. But you got to like when the ground game produces that way. Jalen doesn't have to throw the ball as much. And then in Baltimore, Lamar got his money. He's got his weapons. There's no excuses anymore. Going into Cincinnati, Burrow's a little down. I think that calf is really affecting him. So, but nonetheless, Cincinnati's not an easy place to go in, and their crowd's raucous, and Baltimore stood up to the test and they came out with a win. So, but beyond that, I think I'm not sold 100% on Kansas City. I think Kelsey's still, not 100%, and they've lost some pieces. Nicole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster last year. So I'm not sure if he's 100% comfortable, but, the Kansas City is going to do what they do, and they'll get themselves up there at some point. But we mentioned some 2-0 teams. Man, there's some teams that are 0-2. Is it time to panic? Is it time to panic in LA? New England? There's some teams that had some thoughts that they were going to make some moves. Robbie, some of these 0-2 teams, and I'll start with you with the Chargers. You have kind of a connection with San Diego, even though they're not in San Diego, but I still call them the San Diego Chargers. Is it time to panic in Los Angeles with the Chargers?
Yes, even though their 2 losses are only by 5 points combined. But look, you've got a young, cocky coach that goes for it all the time in Brandon Staley, and he's not getting results. He's got a lot of talent, and he's got to be number one on the hot seat right now. And so if you fire the coach, but you have – so this is the problem in the NFL. If you have your quarterback and you don't have your coach, well, the coach is going to be gone, but then who comes in to fix his quarterback situation? And you just signed him to a bunch of money, and you've got like in LA, still not a great fan base. Second fiddle in just football. Well, you could argue third fiddle in football in that town.
USC number 1.
And so, yeah, you got to drum up like home. We talk about home field. We talk about atmospheres. They're my number 1 panic. My number 2 panic is the Vikings. I don't know what you do with Kirk Cousins, and what does this team look like? You're 0-2, having a good what are you doing? Where are you going? What's happening?
Offensively, they've looked good.
Well, yeah,
he's Cousins putting up almost 400 yards.
Rated quarterback in the NFL, obviously.
He's doing his job.
It's Madison, who I trusted in a couple leagues, has not done jack shit.
It's the defense the pieces that they've lost that I think hurts them in that regard.
And then finally on my panic list is not quite there yet. But if I'm Cincinnati, I'm extremely worried. I pushed Burrow back too quickly, and this can linger on too long till the season's gone.
Absolutely. Brandon, out of the 0-2 teams, I think Robbie stole a lot of people's thunder there. Those are the top 0-2 teams. Which one do you see as panic time? That it's early in the season, but they can't afford to lose much more.
I think out of that group, it's the Chargers for sure. I think the Vikings are going to be fine. Their offense is good. Defense ought to pick it up a little bit. Even though Kirk Cousins is Robbie's quarterback, so I don't really want him to do that great. But I got Jefferson, so I need him to catch the ball.
Ow!
So,
Ow!
That's a little love connection there.
Hey, as long as he throws 3 picks after that, I'm good with it. No, so I definitely think it's the Chargers right now. I mean, they've got all the talent in the world. They drafted some good talent and Quentin Johnson, and look at what's going on there with the defense, and some of the offensive play calling I think has been pretty atrocious lately. So that was not a great Titans team showing, and they still somehow pulled that win out. I mean, Chargers, I thought were going to win that one easily, and they didn't. So I think it's time to panic for them for sure.
Raj, this team clearly underachieved last year. Spent a lot of money, gave up a lot of draft picks to bring in a big-time name quarterback, maybe have been a little bit past his prime. So last year was last year. This year, Sean Payton comes in, and he kind of set the tone, making some maybe a little unsettling comments about the previous regime that was in there. And here we are. The Denver Broncos are 0-2. And a lot of the issues that he made reference to, they are experiencing right now. So Sean Payton may be eating a little crow. How hot is his seat at the moment?
I mean, he just looks like a fucking dumbass is what he does. It's just something you don't do in life, in any kind of fraternity, sorority, meaning the coaching fraternity. There's a band of brotherhood. You don't call out a guy and call him the worst coach ever and the worst organization ever, for all intents and purposes, the year before you get there. I don't understand what the benefit of that was. You're destroying a guy's reputation, potentially his career, his family, and for what? And then for you to go out and lose to the Raiders at home by 1 and at Washington at home by 2.
Yep.
And to suffer, like you said, the same things that plagued them before. Time management, like, give me a break. And he even admitted it. Like, we have to work on our clock management. I mean, that's maybe when he was 25 as a rookie head coach. But after doing this for this long, I mean, that's a fucking joke. Their discipline, penalties, turnovers, everything they did last year. This son of a bitch, after he called out that guy, basically just trying to humiliate him, is experiencing it now. And it's poetic justice. As you can tell, I just generally hate the Broncos. When Sean Payton did that for no reason to a good guy, and, you saw how pissed Aaron Rodgers was. That's his homeboy. He barely got a chance there, and they throw him out, and now they're doing the same shit. And by the way, they go to Miami next week. Good fucking luck. But, yeah, screw him, and that's called karma, and that's poetic justice. Interesting, quickly, Minnesota is hosting the Chargers this coming week. I know we're going to get to it. The NFL has this line at even right now, and these are both two teams that underachieve, that don't make the play when they really need to, especially in the playoffs, or the stop. Loaded talent-wise with Pro Bowlers, number ones at positions, and they cannot just get past that hump. And to me, it's a lot of coaching, especially with the Chargers. But that will be interesting with Cincinnati. Their next 4 games are the Rams at home, at Tennessee, at Arizona, and Seattle at home. So that's a get-right slate right there. You can be 4-2. They'll be favored in every one of those games. So they can get right. It's more about what Robbie said with Burrow. But after that, I think New England doesn't look terrible, man. Christian Gonzalez can play. And even Tyreek Hill said, man, that kid's going to be a player. He really did a great job against him. And you can see why some teams draft the way they do. But, they lost to Philly and they lost to Miami, and there's no shame in that.
No.
And they still have some talent, and they still have, the best coach in the league until otherwise. So watch out for them. And, the Minnesota Charger game is just going to be who fucks up last, not who makes the big play. Who fucks up last. I'm looking forward to that.
I think for me, my pick for the panic team is, as an NFC North fan, there was a lot of back and forth between Bears fans and Lions fans on the Twitter machine. Chicago Bears are in deep trouble. Yeah. I think there was a lot of hype put on Justin Fields. CJ Stroud, who has made 2 starts in the NFL, has more games with 300 yards passing than Justin Fields in his career. That's an alarming stat. You're seeing the same problems that kind of faced Chicago last year. Fields has no protection. He's running for his life, which kind of led to what could have been a potential game-changing play that he just flat out missed. The receiver running up the seam, wide open, no one around him, and he just never saw him. He took a sack. So he's definitely got happy feet because he doesn't have confidence in his offensive line. So that's a team that you've already lost 1 division game. And this division, which Detroit kind of showed, it's up for grabs. Anybody can win. So they can't afford to lose any more division games. And so they go down and Baker Mayfield beats them for 0-2. So that's if I had to say a team outside of what you guys already talked about, it's the Bears that could be in trouble. Robbie, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to push back a little bit. And I don't disagree with Sean Payton as a person, as an arrogant person. But I will say this: Denver, they've lost 2 games by 3 points total.
Shit team that they should have won.
Denver leads the league in points per possession. So that offense is growing, and I would not be surprised if they're not in the hunt for second place in that division by the end of the year.
Oh, I just think he's a dick.
Well, yeah. I said I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying
we didn't get that sentiment from you, Rob. I'm not surprised.
The Bears, though, we just keep hearing about Fields, and we see towards the end of the year, we just see fantasy numbers, and like I figured they had won a few games here and there. They've lost 12 in a row, dating back to last year.
Yeah,
and we're about to talk about this, so I won't go any further. But I mean, I just thought they had won some in there with what Fields had done and the fantasy points he's getting dudes, and they lost 12 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's running for his life the whole time.
Yeah,
that's why fantasy doesn't dictate results.
Right.
A defensive-minded coach and one of the worst, if not the worst, defense over the last, since September of last year. That's not good.
Yeah, it's bad. Another interesting tidbit I'll add quickly. The Chargers got themselves a really nice offensive coordinator. How is Staley on the edge of that hot seat, and how long do they go before they pull the plug on that? Because offensively, it's not the problem; it's the defense. But Staley's infamous for making bonehead decisions, a la Dan Campbell last week. But I think the seat's a little extra hotter since they have a viable candidate at offensive coordinator that could possibly take over the reins from him. So moving on to our next topic. But before we do that, we do want to thank our sponsors, the one, the only, Chattanooga's finest, Davis Kessler, Davis Law Firm. We've said it before. When Toonces gets pulled over for a DUI, if you know, if you get stopped before he flies off the side of the mountain, obviously he's going to go to jail. And I do think that is Toonces, the driving cat, pictured there.
No,
who are you going to call? Who are you going to call to get old Toonces out? Yep, you're going to call good old Robbie Davis there. You're going to go to the website, daviskessler.com, and they're going to take care of you. Anything, injury law, disability law, you name it, they're going to get you covered. So we want to thank Davis Kessler and Davis Law Firm for being sponsors for the big program. So this past week, man, there was a lot of injuries, and Robbie hit on it. Is it a problem because a lot of these big names just don't play in the preseason? And I'll let you, that's been kind of your hot topic. You've mentioned this in our meetings, in our chats. You kind of refer back to it. You're seeing a lot of these injuries outside of what happened to Nick Chubb last night, which was just horrific. That's not a situation where these guys aren't conditioned, but you're seeing a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of hamstrings, a lot of Achilles injuries. Is this a situation where it's due to these players just not being physically prepared for the regular season because they don't play in the preseason, Robbie?
Yeah, I mean, so the only thing I can do is draw analogies to my life and my profession. And yeah, I can read and I can study and I can do this. I try a small car wreck case at least once a year to get on that battlefield, if you will, to get that blood flowing, to get these things going, like whether it's cells, building, whatever it is, like you need to do these small things and just keep
hone your craft,
like get your mind right and get the the reactive genes going. And like, so yeah, I mean, I think if you're just sitting out there, yes, you can say, "Oh, I'm working, I'm doing all this," but man, you still got to practice getting hit, and they're not allowed to hit with the collective bargaining agreement. And yeah, you got to learn how to fall. Like, I mean, the fact that Tua's taking jujitsu to learn how to fall properly, like that shows it's a little bit of a problem about what they don't get hit. And so yeah, if I'm coaching, and like yes, you're bound by the collective bargaining agreement, but as much as I can get my starters out to play in the preseason, I'm getting them out to play, because whether you're hurt in the preseason or you're hurt in week one, that doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things, right? You're still hurt. So I want you to take some hits, and I want you to get used to taking them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a struggle. It's an investment, and we're going to talk about an investment here in a couple minutes of a player that, there's guaranteed money now, and these players are getting paid like they weren't before. It used to be they got hurt, you're out the door. No guaranteed contract, no guaranteed money. That's the times have changed. So I think that's where organizations are a little bit more hesitant to play their names in the preseason. But you're seeing a direct result of them not playing. Brandon, I'll go back to last night's game and what we witnessed. I mean, the fact that ESPN, and kudos to ESPN for saying that this injury was so we're choosing not to show it, and you could actually hear the fans in Pittsburgh as the play came on the big screen. You could hear their groan, like, oh, and then you could hear Nick Chubb on the field like screaming in pain. I mean, it was horrifying to hear. Looking at that injury, and I know I posted a video clip of it happening, and I do apologize. But the reason why I posted that, because in my estimation, I think the hit was dirty. I think the tackle was dirty. And the reason why I say this is because Minka Fitzpatrick threw his body toward his knees, toward his legs. You take that same play, that same action, you do that behind the line of scrimmage at the quarterback, that's 15 yards. That's roughing the passer. In a situation where it's a tight place, a tight tackle, tight area, where there is a high risk of an injury, do you think the NFL needs to look at that play, look at that video specifically, and kind of change the way they call penalties? And it was that play dirty in your estimation?
I don't think it was a dirty play, personally. I think with the way they've gotten with this targeting and these headshots and stuff nowadays, I mean, what do you expect these guys to do? They have to go low.
Yeah.
And so the NFL has forced them to go low, and now you're seeing horrific injuries like this because the guys can't hit each other, in the shoulder pads or in the waist. I mean, it's just this is a forced situation from the NFL, and this is not the first time. We've seen ton more ACLs over the years because of this targeting call, because everyone tackles low. I mean, that's just what you're going to get. I mean, you got to pick one or the other. Pick your poison. This is a violent sport. It's physical. You know your risks. You know you're going to get hit. I would personally rather get hit in the shoulder pads up higher than somebody taking my knee out.
I was going to ask that question, Brandon. I was like, you're the only one that I know that
100%.
played significant football. Not the only
100%.
person, no, but on the one on this show. Like, would you rather get hit high or low?
Yeah, definitely higher. I mean, the blindside hits when you're not prepared for it, I get that. That's hard. That's hard to get. But when you're ready for it, I mean, you're much rather be where you're padded up here than somewhere, especially with knees. I mean, it's as fickle as they are.
And the lack of players that wear knee pads even now these days.
Yeah, they don't hardly. I mean, you barely even see thigh pads anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they just. I mean, there's nothing. So that's my thought on that. And then, as far as the injuries overall, I mean, I think it's a collective thing with One, these turf fields are terrible. They've got to change the turf fields. I think it would cost, I read somewhere today, like $12 million for the NFL to change everything over to grass. I mean, when you've got soccer teams coming in to play in your stadium and you're changing from turf to grass for them.
How do you do that in the dome stadiums though? Like Detroit, how do you put grass in Detroit?
You can grow natural grass inside stadiums now.
And you can resod for the day if you have to. I mean, you need to make that investment. If you're investing guaranteed money in these big time players, what's another $2 million a year to keep sod on your?
Well, you look at Arizona, you look at Vegas. They wheel the whole field outside, so it's getting the natural light. But
Brandon, have you played on turf versus like what is? Because like I've heard this, but I've never done anything on turf to like know what the difference is.
So it's gotten a lot better than it used to be. So before it was, I played on MTSU's field when it was turf back in the day.
Yeah,
Cincinnati, same exact thing.
It's like concrete and then like a little thin layer of rubber and then this turf like down. Like it is so hard. Yeah. And then the grip's great, but that's negative. Like if you have that, just like Rodgers, if you look at his injury there, his foot on natural grass, they would have dug in so much. I think his foot would have slipped out instead of just all that pressure coming back and just popping his Achilles. And that's the second.
But then you look last night. That was a grass field in Chubb's foot.
Well, he had so much weight underneath, like he couldn't go. Like his foot was stuck.
Well, do y'all think the player associations is successful in getting all natural grass?
No, the owners.
I don't think they will be. Yeah. Well, there's this new hybrid out, which the Titans are putting in. Actually, that you actually have to water. It's a turf field, so I mean we'll see. The technology is getting better, but some of these older ones, I mean, it's definitely a concern.
Well, I mean, I remember, Brandon, I remember the Titans field when it was all natural grass. Once TSU played on it, if there was some kind of event, the time the Titans got on it, if it was raining, it was a disaster.
Look at Pittsburgh.
So that's the kind of catch-22 of what do you want?
Not only that, that ground freezes in those northern cities, Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
Sure,
that changes things. But I mean, it's a problem, and it's a problem when the NFLPA is filing grievances, and how they're going to resolve that, it remains to be seen. But it is an issue.
Just real quick, even though it's a problem, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Oh, sure.
Whatever the solution is, they've got the money to do it and get it fixed.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep.
I call it dirty for the record. I don't know if we were going around the table or not.
Yeah, I want to get your opinion on it.
I thought it was dirty. I thought with any defender, especially with quarterbacks, especially when you see them break down the way that you saw Minka did, you have a decision to make. You can go in for a late hit when a quarterback slide in. You have to use your better judgment. A lot of times you'll see guys kind of turn their back and throw their body in front of the guy's legs. It's almost like his knees would hit your back. And you can almost see him like slash and roll from the side towards that knee when the guy's engaged. And I mean, to me, it looked like he was trying to there's his ankle. Like I'm just kind of slash at it. Especially after I said, like he broke down and like just kind of dove at it. And it's hard to call it dirty because none of us play and none of us are in that situation. But I just feel like, and not just because of in hindsight, but a better decision could have been made. And that when you do something like that, the likelihood of a player getting hurt is much higher than if you would have done a more traditional tackle attempt.
Yeah.
But, he's near the end zone. Also, he's trying to score. So it's hard to say. But personally, I think it's dirty the way you can kind of just see him chop down at his leg.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sure he was trying to take his legs out, though. I mean, he was trying to stop him.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
there's other ways to do that. Not square up, stop, and then throw your leg and helmet and shoulder like a torpedo at like the side of his knee.
Well, the problem with you have tacklers, if you launch anywhere upward and they duck down, it's a penalty. So
it's a targeting, and you can get thrown out of the game.
Yeah, so you almost have to aim down.
NFL has forced this. This is what you're going to get.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like I said, there are other ways down by the goal line. When he breaks down, a lot of guys will dive and lay out in front almost, stop his forward progress, especially he's already engaged. His knee will hit into there's a reason why they have pads on their backs as well. I know it's Nick Chubb. It's a hard guy to tackle, and it's a split decision, but I think it's a decision that other options could have been made. And this was a very severe consequence. So it's hard for me not to think that I don't think this was his only option. And I think based on the actions he took, the probability of getting hurt were high.
What other option do you think you had?
Like I said, you can see him stop and break down. If he dives in front like a lot of guys do, either backwards in terms of like he's paralleling Chubb's, whose knees are not, he's not raising his knees at that point. Even if he tries to tackle at the knees from the side, but he looks to torpedo at an angle, at a side angle, at like that plant knee or below that knee. It just, the way he looks at it, he looks like, oh, there it is. I'm going for that. And when you do that, I'd be shocked if Chubb wasn't hurt based on the way that play unfolded. You can see him, like I said, from an angle, chop down, kind of roll over, and it just, you knew as soon as he left his feet, it wasn't going to be good. Hindsight's 2020. I don't play the game, but I feel like there's other options there. But
I think it's just one of those freak accidents, especially that severe from what happened to him. I mean, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe there was another option there, but split-second decision, that's tough to make that call. So,
and it's two rivals. The tempers were flaring in that game, similar to the Colorado State game. So you had guys going 100 miles an hour at each other. So I mean, sure. It's easy to look back and see like, yeah, that looks dirty, but like you said, Raj, hindsight, you just don't know. But that game, it was back and forth. 4 or 5 lead changes. Pittsburgh gets a pick six, first play from scrimmage, and then they get a touchdown, a scoop and score by T.J. Watt, who in the same game becomes the Pittsburgh Steelers' number 1 sack leader and scores his first career touchdown, ironically enough. But the game kind of came down to a questionable call. Donovan Peoples-Jones was clearly interfered with. There was a hold call. And then you go back to the game that I witnessed in Detroit. There were several calls in that game that were very questionable that had results unfavorable to the Lions. This was a theme last year. NFL officiating hasn't seemed to gotten any better than it has a year ago. And I don't want to say teams are losing because of the officiating, but it's becoming a big factor in why teams are losing. Robbie, during that game, you were sending some texts like, I don't understand that call. There was actually a pass interference call in the first drive for Seattle. The official, they showed the replay. The official literally was throwing the flag before any of the guys even went up for to catch the ball. Jerry Jacobs got a pass interference and he never touched the guy. And you texted, that was a very questionable call. Is this a big problem that we're witnessing in the NFL?
Yeah, well, questionable. When I said questionable, that was being very generous. That was just a bad call. And I saw the replay. I don't know if anyone wants to go to computers to officiate these games. But at the same time, it's got to be one or the other, right? It's got to be either we're going to do it all from a booth and we do it all from TV, or you are going to give these guys full-time jobs and pay them what they need to be paid to do this job. I can only imagine what it's like. Look, I'm 5'10" on a generous day.
Yeah.
I know the rules pretty well.
I
But
must be
you
6'2".
put me on the field with
He's
these
5'10" with
guys.
his heels on.
When you put me on the field with these guys, I know the rules, but I can't see things. And so it's kind of like we got to adapt and we got to do things better. Because, look, yeah, you can't have just blatant calls being missed. And I get the rules. And if you don't see it, you can't. But it's almost time for, look, the NFL's still as perfect as it gets for sporting events. It's awesome, but doesn't mean it can't improve. And
Mhm.
it can improve by officials being better or being more equipped.
Well, one thing I'll say outside of Colorado State, which was, and we talked about it in the college football show. Go check it out. It's available right now. That was bad. But outside of that, I love the fact that those down judges, those side judges, they let them play. You don't see the pass interference calls. You don't see the holding calls on the defender half as much as you do in the NFL. It seems like when you breathe on a guy, they're throwing a flag, which really, I mean, it takes out of the luster of the game, and it certainly did in Detroit last week. So it is disappointing
Well,
when you have a game kind of dictated by the way the refs are calling it.
and just briefly, like the fact that there's pass interference, not pass interference. I've watched 1,000 football games in my life. And this is gonna stick a nerve with Raj, but I still don't understand what a forward pass and a fumble is.
The tuck
I
rule.
have
The tuck
no
rule.
idea what the rule is. I saw one in the it was a Titans game, yes, and Titans game week 1, and I was like, he lost it, then just patted it going forward. I'm like, if you just pat a forward fumble going forward, that doesn't make it a pass. But it's just it's so.
There's got to be a receiver in the area, but yes, you're absolutely right. Going back to the tuck rule, it's so ambiguous, and if you can do that without it being intercepted by 7 guys around the box, and by all means, but yeah, you can just do that and be like yoink, especially if you're outside the tackles, and shovel pass is the pass, and it's one of those stupid things. And they changed the tuck rule right after that game, motherfuckers. But they have not changed that fumble rule. Yeah, it's I'm with you on that.
Here's the biggest thing with the NFL too in the officiating. There is such a huge lack of consistency. And I think if everyone was on the same page and called everything consistent, then the definition is in the call on what you are to expect, right? So then you know how to play, you know how to get away with things or not get away with them. But it's like, me building a house and calling a codes official in. It depends on who I get that day on which code violation he's going to attempt to call on me. So it's just the lack of consistency, and that's something they could fix. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Well, real quick,
there's
Brandon.
just too much money there to not get it right. That's
yeah. I mean, you're dealing with
bet on these games.
You're dealing with human error, and it's never going to be perfect, but
Yeah.
I think more consistent would be better.
So round table. Would you like the NFL to go to unlimited challenges? It all be from the booth, or do you like the 2+1 we have now?
Well, I'll go here, and I was just going to ask a similar question. I think pass interference calls should be reviewed quickly. up top, or you have the ability to challenge a pass interference call. If you want to get it right, you got to get it right. And 6 times out of 10, they're not right. And I think if they go to review to get the right call, they'll get the right call. Raj, what do you think? Or what Robbie was saying? What do you think on that?
It's another thing like forward progress. When a dumbass ref blows a whistle, you're fucked. Nothing you can do. I'm for reviews with a very strict time limit. If it is New York, then fucking officials dedicated to each game. And if that's the case, then yes. Does it take away from the flow? I mean, you can call PI and holding on every play. And if you do PI, then what about holding? Like how often is this going to happen? What about blatant PIs that the flag was not thrown, but you believe it should be reviewed? Yeah. It is a slippery slope. But yeah, it's also one of those plays, especially in the NFL, when, like we said, unlike college where it's just 15 yards, you can just hail one down towards the end zone, down 6, get a flag and be at the 1 yard line, even on a Hail Mary, and win the game. So I think changes have to be made clearly. I'm for increased changes with a time limit. But it's just such a difficult call to make. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to ride. I hate to say that, but
yeah, I tend to agree.
I can flow.
Yep. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean it's a slippery slope, and where do you draw the line? Like Raj was saying, I like the idea of having one dedicated person constantly reviewing plays, but then you have to have a definitive line of what's reviewable, what's not reviewable, because you don't want to try and challenge or call a hold on every single play. I mean, you could have like a game-changing, altering penalty or lack thereof possibly reviewed, or where someone can challenge it, but it would have to be like a quick 10-second. He calls down, the existing or the on-field refs won't even get to look at it. New York calls down, says here's the call, change it.
Those jerk offs running to get under the hood and then to get the video straight.
So, and then they're like talking out their game plan. Like that's so stupid. That's a waste of time. Like,
totally.
You watch it one time, it's yes or no.
We can all do it in 10 seconds in our living room. And the other thing would be like,
and they're looking at a TV this big in front of 90,000 people with a hood over it.
Yeah.
I see it now.
I mean, yeah, the idea of, you can call holding on every play, that's true, because you're allowed to hold on every play. Stop letting them hold. Right. Call fouls on that. They want to protect the quarterbacks, and they like pass interference. If you just do it right, I mean, it's like the NBA. Oh, you travel on every play. Well, stop letting them travel.
Yeah.
If you stop letting them, players only do what you allow them to get away with.
Absolutely. So it'd be interesting to see. Changes need to be made to help the betterment of the game, and hopefully we do see that in the near future. And again, we also want to thank our other sponsor. That's right. Reckless Speculation's very own Brandon Chain, C&W Construction. Whether you're in the market for some kind of remodel, you want to put together an outdoor kitchen, there's an example there in the picture. If you're in a nice warm weather area most of the season, that's something you definitely want to have. Or if you want to build a house, that house up there in the upper left corner, yep, C&W, they did it. They built it. So if you're in the greater Nashville area, check them out. Go like them on Facebook. See a lot of other examples, and they're the ones you want to check out. So moving on to our, I guess, not so great stats. I'll put it up on the screen. We showed it in the last show, ladies and gentlemen. This ain't great. This is combined from college and NFL picks. Raj is leading the way with he's batting 500 here. So
I hate the NFL too. I'm awful at the NFL.
So there's only one way to go, folks, and it's up. And hopefully we improve on that this week.
Or you can hedge against us. Just bet the opposite.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's usually when I win, the opposite of what I think.
So starting off this week's picks, we're going back to Ford Field. The 1-1 Lions going against the 2-0 Falcons. The Lions currently sitting at a 3-point favorite. Raj, who do you like in this one?
Ooh. You got the number 2 pass defense in the NFL in Atlanta going against just a dynamic pass offense. Minor note, Atlanta has played Carolina and Green Bay with Jordan Love. I think Detroit bounces back. I'm still not convinced. They can't lose games like they did last week. They just keep doing it. Same old story. And this is a perfect script for them to lose a game like last week. I'm putting my faith in Detroit sports, which we all know how that usually works out for them to cover, maybe win by 4 or 5. But I wouldn't be surprised with that ground game and those big receivers if Atlanta covered. But I'm going to go with Detroit. Now I know Atlanta will win.
Don't say that. Don't say that. I don't want to walk out of Ford Field disappointed again. Brandon Shane, who do you like?
I'm going Detroit here just because I like their run defense. They have played, or Atlanta rather, they have played, with Green Bay last week and, had 170 yards or whatever on the ground, 200 yards. It was a ton. Way too many yards. And Detroit held.
They were outstanding against Seattle.
Yeah, they were under 100 yards on the run game. So I'm looking for that matchup there. That's kind of my edge in this game, and them being at home. I think they come back. I think the fans are rowdy, and I think Detroit bounces back on this one.
Mahomes, by the way, leading rusher against Detroit with 45 yards week 1.
Interesting that. Robbie Davis.
I have a fundamental rule in life. I don't bet on the Falcons, so I will take Detroit also. That's be a fundamental rule in everyone's life. But do not bet on the Falcons.
28-3.
Ever, no matter under the circumstance, never bet on the Falcons.
Sorry, the QB1. For me, this is a must-win for the Lions. They can't afford another home loss. They lose C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who kind of was the captain of this defense. They lose him to a torn pec that, ironically enough, he I guess got the injury. It started in a tackle, but then it went full effect while he was trying to pump up the crowd. He's flailing his arms and then grabs at his pec, and he's done for the year. But they've got a guy in Tracy Walker who 2 years ago should have been a Pro Bowler. They re-signed him. Unfortunately, he blows his ACL last year. He's healthy. He's fired up. He's ready to go. He'll replace C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And they got a little guy named Brian Branch who they drafted in the second round this year in the draft, who he's going to learn real quick. He's going to grow up real fast. And we're going to find out who he is this week. I think the Lions come back. I think they feed off that energy. You're not going to see the fourth down conversions that Campbell tried to pull last week in his own zone. That's going to get cleaned up. He's got the best punter in the NFL. Utilize him. Pin guys back. This week they clean up the mistakes, injuries and all. I like the Lions here.
All you got to say is don't bet on the Falcons.
The Falcons.
No, definitely not. Moving on to the next game.
We're unanimous. The Falcons are definitely going to
win. Robbie and Brandon's Tennessee Titans heading into Cleveland to face old Rub and Tug, who I think Cleveland's starting to feel a little bit questioning about their guaranteed contract with him. He looked terrible last night. I think he completed 12 passes all night. So Cleveland is a 3-point favorite in this game. Robbie Davis, what you got?
Katy Perry sold her entire music album or her whole portfolio for $220 million. That's less than the Browns are paying Deshaun Watson to do nothing. Look, that music will live on. Deshaun Watson's a bleeping bum. Not Joe Burrow bum level, but he hasn't been on my fantasy team yet. If he's ever on my fantasy team, he'll be a bum. Look, I don't love the Titans, but I love them here getting points. Yeah, give me the Titans for sure.
Brandon Chain, what are your Titans going to do in Seatown on Sunday?
I don't know, man. This game stresses me out already. I've gone back and forth, but as to Robbie saying that about the Falcons, you can't bet on the damn Browns either. I mean, you just can't. Deshaun Watson, he looked awful.
Oh.
Give me the Titans. Give me the Titans to roll. 2-game winning streak.
And the over on here is a lock, too. Titans are going to score.
I think so.
Raj, who you got?
Same, man. I can't remember where I saw it, but some NFL player on one of the recap shows was talking about Mike Vrabel, and he's like, man, that dude is hard to play against. He always comes up with something, and he's Belichick-esque, and he's going to do it again against a guy who, interesting stat, Deshaun Watson, since he's been in Cleveland, has never won or lost 2 games in a row. He's 4-4, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. The only win against a winning team was against Cincinnati in game 1, where the defense just went nuts. Otherwise, it was Baltimore without Lamar Jackson. It was Houston, and it was someone else shitty. I'll take Vrabel over Stefanski all day, and another mediocre 180-yard performance, 1 TD, 2 picks for me, Sean.
I will go lone wolf here, folks. I'm taking Cleveland.
Why aren't you
in this
Whoa,
game?
This is why I
like
bring a pencil out. I already had you penciled in for the Titans.
I like Cleveland's defense.
Oh, what a
think
dum-dum.
I think he's gonna. They're gonna get after Tannehill. Nick Chubb 2.0, Jerome Ford, who looked pretty good last night, and he more than likely will be the number one waiver wire pickup coming this week in fantasy.
Stop talking
Excuse
about
me.
It's just going to see whoever, what idiot ponies up the most for him to get hurt a week later. And
yes,
we have options in this league.
Auction waiver is the stupidest thing ever known to man.
Yeah. And some idiot's going to spend like $700 to get Jerome Ford.
Kareem Hunt was in Cleveland, and all indications he will be signing with them. And don't be surprised if you see him on the field, because he knows the offense. So give me Cleveland to win this game. Lone wolf. Ooh! Moving on to the hot seat bowl. The Chargers of LA, going into US Bank Stadium, which, man, that's on my bucket list. That place looks amazing. Vikings -1.
I've got them at even. Are we going minus?
I got them to pick them.
Yeah, it could be. I went off FanDuel this afternoon, so I'm sure it's changed since then.
It's a pick 'em where I'm looking at.
So you over under. I think this is going to be a shootout. Neither one of these teams has any sort of a semblance of defense, so this could be an exciting game to watch.
Is Eckler, we don't know about Eckler.
Eckler's back.
Oh, he is back.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Raj, who do you got?
I think I just expect San Diego to fuck it up more. So I will take Minnesota for just that reason in a shootout.
Raj, who'd you pick? Minnesota?
Yeah. I'm more like anti-San Diego than pro-Minnesota. If that makes sense.
Brandon, who do you got?
Yeah, give me the best player on the field in Justin Jefferson. The Chargers, again, they should have won against the Titans last week, and I just lost all faith to bet on them. They got all the talent in the world on the field. They just do not utilize it very well. So I will take Justin Jefferson and the Vikings.
Robbie Davis.
Oh man, you know where I'm going. Number 1 rated fantasy football quarterback. You love him, I love him. Dependable, gonna be there all.
I had to mute him. I don't want to hear that. Oh wow. Yeah, give me the most awkward quarterback in the NFL who likes to say ouch and golly and doesn't swear and gets rubbed by some church couple in his basement. But yeah, I think home field.
You love him. You love him.
Well, and not to
him.
mention he went to Michigan State, which makes him even that
That's
much
where
more
he learned how to like
punchable.
massages.
That makes him much more of a punchable face. But yeah, I think the home field will come into play.
Wait till y'all see this note card. It's really
Give me the Vikings. I would take, if we're betting the over, or the over on it, I would take the over all day on this one. So
yeah,
zero confidence in any of these picks.
This game could be tricky. Could be a little bit tricky. Washington starting out 2-0. Does the offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy maybe get a little bit of credit for a nice start so far? Good win in Denver last week. But they've got the Fighting Josh Allens of Buffalo coming into town, who, sorry, Raj, dismantled the Raiders last week at home. So, Robbie, we'll start with you. Who do you like in this game?
Man, I was really hoping I'd get to do after Brandon, because I was gonna pick whatever Brandon didn't pick. But I will go. You know what? No, I'm not. No, I'm going Buffalo. No, that's a lot of points. I'm going Washington.
To cover or win?
We're betting the spread to cover.
Yeah, but do you think they're going to beat Buffalo, or they're just going to cover?
Oh, no, I'm not that confident. Unless Brandon thinks they're going to cover, then they'll win.
Well, Brandon, inquiring minds want to know, what do you got in this one?
I'm on the other side here.
Yes,
I like Josh Allen to keep it rolling, and let's be honest here. The Commanders have played the Cardinals, which is a team that's tanking on purpose right now, and then the Broncos, who are still kind of up in the air and have quite a bit of distraction outside of the field. So give me Buffalo to try and get back on track here, grab 2 in a row, get a little momentum heading into, a little bit better schedule.
Raj, who do you like in this game at the arguably the worst stadium in the NFL, FedEx Field?
Yeah, it's like really old now. I go with Brandon and who have they played? And last week was one of the weeks where some of the fantasy guys just kind of stepped up, some running backs. Even though Brian Robinson Jr. was one of them.
He's looking really well to start.
Front, but James Cook was another, and he had 17 for 123. And I see Buffalo by 10 in my mind, 31-21 type game.
All right, sorry, Tom, who'd you pick? Sorry, missed it.
Well, I haven't made my pick yet.
Okay, Raj, who'd you pick?
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I missed both. I missed Raj.
And while you're writing, I will take Buffalo as well. I think this game is close early. I think Washington's defense is going to be able to keep them relatively close. But Allen, he's just superior. And when you have a better quarterback going up against Howell in Washington, so I think that's going to play out here. So give me the Bills over the soon-to-be Washington Redskins. We're going to go to the black and blue bowl game. We're going to call this the Steelers of Pittsburgh going into the hallowed halls of – oh, wait, no. They're going into Las Vegas to play the Raiders. We'll leave this last for you, Raj. Robbie, who do you like in this game?
Hey, I'm seeing this at 2.5 right now for the Raiders.
That's what I've got. 2.5.
But we'll go off that.
So the line must have changed. I did this at like 6:00 tonight, so the line has changed dramatically. So,
well, that's just the public being stupid. So,
yeah.
So we're doing 1.5 or 2.5?
Steelers minus 1.5, which is going to be more accurate than Raider fan.
All right. I am going Vegas.
Brandon Chain.
No reason, just going.
If I could take the under here, I would.
Which is 43.5. I think that's too high.
Yeah, it's too many. This is going to be a ground and pound game.
Mm-hmm.
Steelers' run defense is ranked 32nd in the league right now. You're going to see Josh Jacobs a lot, heavy dose. It's going to be like a 17-14 game.
Yep.
And it's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders.
Raj.
Yeah, anytime I pick the Raiders, I just feel so uneasy and queasy and something's not right. But Shane nailed it. I wrote down Pittsburgh allowing 34 for 188 yards and 1 TD against San Francisco on the ground, 35 for 198 yards and 1 TD against Cleveland on the ground. The Raiders are going to use Josh Jacobs all day. Is Kenny Pickett, and I like Jimmy G. He's gonna get that third down they need. Usually, he's not going to pull a Derek Carr, and I think he'll do just enough, especially getting 1.5 at home on a Sunday night for the Raiders to pull one out.
Yeah. I like the Raiders here specifically because the Steelers' offense is abysmal. It's non-existent. Kenny Pickett looks bad. He needs to take the glove off. Who does he think he is? Teddy Bridgewater. But yeah, I mean, they basically gift wrapped that game last night for Cleveland, but Cleveland's offense looks just equally as bad. So I don't see Pittsburgh going in and winning at Vegas. So give me the Raiders. Give me the Raiders to win here. And here's another tricky game. Monday night, the first of 2 Monday night games. They're doing that again, which is actually pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, they're doing that because of the writers' strike. So they're giving people another option for viewing on a Monday night, which, you know what? I'm okay with that. So you got the
2 shitty games or 1 good game?
I'll tell you this. Don't ever give the NFL any power because they will not go back.
Sure.
This
Absolutely.
will be the normal from now on.
It could be. So you got the Eagles, 5-point favorites going into the Fighting Baker Mayfield-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's a nice little story to start. No one would have thought, Baker would be a starting quarterback in the NFL again, or B, starting the season 2-0. So, Raj, do you see Baker being able to keep the streak alive, or you got the Eagles going in there flocking out in Tampa Bay?
No, this is that classic case of those 2 backs that stepped up. Rashad White was 17-73 and a TD. Again, a guy that people are high on. It's just kind of nice to see returns early. I didn't draft him, of course, which is why he's doing well. And the same, as you said, with DeAndre Swift, who went off for 175. I think Philly played with fire last week and learned their lesson. And I expect them to just kind of to chalk up the Bucs and to force a lot of turnovers. and to make Baker look like Baker and win by, again, 10 to 14 in this one.
Yeah. Brandon.
Baker's gonna Baker. I mean, he's played the Bears and the Vikings. I mean, come on. This is the same old Baker that we've seen since he stepped foot in the NFL. Eagles, we had them, I think, all in our top 5 or right around. They're just a better team. I think it's going to be, ground and pound, sloppy game. I think it'll be a little bit more than what Raj said. I've got them by 10 Eagles over Tampa Bay.
Robbie.
Yeah, so I am liking this Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay. Now
in quarterback selections are the worst.
I do have the Eagles in one of my top 5. I think they struggled tonight. 5 points is a lot of points in the NFL. Give me Tampa Bay.
2-0 Tampa Bay was not in his top 5, though. I guess they were the team replaced by Kansas City at 1-1.
That's right.
Yeah. It's a good story. Seeing where, he started Cleveland, it was a failure in Cleveland, and he goes over to LA, and after 5 days, he leads the Rams to a big win on I think it was a Sunday night game.
Thursday against the
Thursday
Raiders.
night. Yeah, that's right.
That game locked up. That was disgusting.
So it's been a good story for Baker Mayfield, but I think he runs out of sugar this Sunday against the Eagles and bakes a flat cake and no icing, and the Eagles are gonna fly, Eagles, fly out of Tampa with a victory.
You ran with that cake analogy pretty well. I like it.
Yep.
Baker Mayfield's like Ryan Fitzpatrick 2.0. Like, he starts out hot. You're starting to like him a little bit, and then he throws like 7 interceptions, and the whole season plummets.
Picks look good.
This is the cheat sheet that for people that want to just watch the end of the show, they just get our free money picks.
Yeah.
Well,
you might not want to use those picks. All right, fellas.
I'm feeling good about this week's college. And
NFL. I'm feeling great. I picked almost opposite Brandon.
That's why I'm feeling so much better.
We'll see where this thing goes. Final words here tonight. Good show as always. Again, check out the college football kickoff that is available now to watch, that we give the picks. Robbie, we're going to start with you tonight. What are your final words?
So I've got a little bit of a grievance with different states I'm about to visit. So the next 10 days, I'm going to be in South Carolina and Florida. Neither of which have sports gambling. So, what are you guys doing? You live on border states of states can gamble. Just legalize it. Get the tax revenue. Don't be stupid. Don't be ignorant. Don't be as you always are. Just effing dumb. So that's my final thoughts are South Carolina and Florida, get your bleep together and legalize sports gambling.
Legalize multiple.
Politics might have something to do with that, Robbie. But
I know.
Could be wrong.
That's what get your bleep together.
Brandon Chain.
And voters get your bleep together.
Yeah, right. Legalize marijuana too. Brandon Chain, final words for tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good final words there. I always forget about that when I'm traveling. I go to put a bet in, and I'm like, God dang it. This is so stupid. Like, why can I not? Even if it's not legal in that state, you should be able to, because you're from another state that is legal.
Registered
and
in
you're using
the
the app, and you're registered in like, at least do that. Like, that's simple. But anyway, final words. I am anxious about some of these NFL games this week. I think we start getting into, a little bit more of the meat of the schedule, and we're going to start seeing some division rivals here in the next coming weeks. So NFL's ramping up as usual, and it never does disappoint, and hopefully no injuries this week.
Raj, final words tonight.
I feel like last week, the college schedule on Saturday was really horrendous and boring, but the NFL had some really good games last week. The Niners game, even the crappy Giants Cardinals was 3 points. 2 division leaders and winners in the Chiefs, KC, Chargers, Titans down to a field goal. I'm sorry, Tom, but Geno Smith's favorite place at Ford Field, overtime game, Ravens and Bengals, Packers, Falcons, 1 point game. And then I look at this week and I'm like, nothing really blows up my skirt. Titans, Browns, Falcons, whereas college last week, the best game of the week was Missouri, Kansas State on the 250-pound kicker, Hevis, I think his name was, hitting a 61-yarder.
Oh, Nevis or Mevis.
Yeah, that dude was huge. Whereas, this
Sebastian Janikowski throwback.
Big time, dude. And this Saturday, it's a loaded slate with Notre Dame, Ohio State leading the way. But, like I said, Oregon State, Washington State's going to be an undercover great game. Clemson, Florida State, the ACC game of the year, September 19th. Brilliant, fucking brilliant. Even undercover games, Oklahoma at Cincinnati have not been there. Colorado at Oregon, UCLA at Utah, Ole Miss, Alabama. It's kind of funny to me how the 2 slates have kind of switched. Iowa, Penn State, that last week the NFL was like super stoked for matchups and Saturday sucked. Whereas this week, it's going to be the other way around, in my opinion. And so stoked for Saturday. Sunday, hopefully the Raiders will win. And, we were talking about, Tom, real quick about Ford Field. I was at those Raider playoff games in Oakland, and those were insane in the early 2000s when Raider Nation was just, it was hardcore, dude, and the fans could get away with a lot. And you did not wear black. And if you didn't wear black, you had serious problems. And that was about as psycho and loud as I've ever seen an atmosphere. But those are for uncivilized folk. So just wait till Detroit makes the playoffs, which I think most of us believe they will. And then you'll see the top blow off of Ford Field. And you'll throw it up there with Neyland and other places with 120,000 Ohio State. But no, I'm stoked to get to experience that.
Well, my final words are fair-weathered fans. And yes, the Lions disappointed us all last week and lost. But the amount of hate that Detroit Lion fans were spewing on Twitter and on local radio, throwing in the towel. Oh, I'm ready to sell my tickets now. They should tank for the rest of the season. Dan Campbell's a joke. Why is he going for it on 4th down? Oh, I'm sick of this same game. It blew my mind, the amount of Lions fans that hours prior to that were toting the flag in the Ford Field, wearing the ridiculous blue ski masks that were ready to go to war for them. 3 hours later, they're ready to throw in the towel. And it's disturbing to me as a loyal Lion fan, as a hardcore, dedicated Lions fan. Was I upset about all the 4th down plays? Absolutely. I'm a firm believer when you get too cute, you're going to get beat. And this was a prime example. It was unfortunate. I don't think you're going to see that with Dan Campbell moving forward. So people need to just pump the brakes. And I remember a certain quarterback a couple years ago that used one word, relax. And that was Aaron Rodgers. And they ended up almost going to the Super Bowl that year. So Detroit Lion fans, get your head out of your ass. Look what you got. Look at the culture. Look at the top, the organization. Sheila Fordham has done wonders for this organization. It's not a losing SOL anymore. Appreciate what you have. Don't sell out on the Lions yet. The season is young. Just chill out. They're going to be fine. And I think people are going to be walking out, myself included, of Ford Field pretty happy. So Fairweather fans, you know what? We don't have room for you on the train anymore. Get off and get out. So I'm about fed up with it. So those are my final words.
That's how you really feel, Tom.
Man,
I do that UT basketball fans all the time. I'm like, get the F out of my section.
Hey,
you don't.
For some reason, Tennessee is the worst play. Like as a fan, it transcends across all Tennessee like sports.
It's frustrating.
They are the worst fair weather fans I've ever seen in my life.
Like the water. Oh no, we suck again.
Dude,
like
it's like Major League. Like they want to come to the game just to boo you, and it's like, get the hell out of here, bro. Like,
it's frustrating. So, fellas, another awesome show. Again, go check out the college kickoff. We just did. It's released now. It's available everywhere. Like, follow, subscribe. It helps us out.
Get rich following our bets.
Yeah. You can check out old broadcasts, previous shows on our Facebook and our YouTube page. Go back to see what some of our bets are.
Tom, can we publish my note card on our Twitter feed or something?
Yeah, I'll get something like that going on the socials, so we can definitely see what where our standings are.
Hopefully that doesn't violate any kind of.
If you would have done the opposite of all of our bets, you would be rich as fuck right now.
You would have, or you'd be 50% if you're betting with Raj. But
but I've got the winners this week though.
We shall see. So definitely looking forward to another awesome slate of games. Like Raj said, college-wise, this is the weekend, and NFL is NFL. So for Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, Robbie Davis, I am Tom Sloan. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all right here next week for another episode of Reckless Speculation.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube searching Reckless Speculation. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode of Reckless Speculation.